What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Early Wedge. My name is Sia Nejad. I'm joined by Jason Sobel, and Rick Gehman is going to join us right after his HQ hit with Patrick McDonald. So we should probably get him in about 10 minutes. Jason, what a day. I want to get your initial reaction to the day, and then I want to read a list of all the players that didn't make the cut, or at least the notable ones. Go ahead. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I am beat. That was a whirlwind of a day. A lot of stuff going on at Quail Hollow today. There's news. There's crazy leaderboard. There's Scotty Scheffler up there playing some good golf once again. So we've got a lot to get to here.
Yeah. Well, when you refer to news, are you referring to the Rory news and the driver news? Okay. Is there anything you want to expound upon there? I mean, I don't know if. Go ahead if you have anything on that. That just sort of ran across my eyes, like I guess probably when you tweeted it out, Jason, a couple of hours ago, and then I saw some other people pick it up as well. Is that big news, or is that much ado about nothing?
It's big news because it's Rory McIlroy, and because he hasn't been hitting fairways for 2 days, and so you could say, Rory hasn't spoken to the media for 2 days. So how has this affected him? Maybe that was his favorite driver, and for some reason it didn't pass the test. I'll get to that in a second, but and maybe it's an identical driver to the other one, and for whatever reason this one passed. I don't know. Rory has not spoken with us. Rory's team has decided not to comment on this, so we only know the news, which the USGA has confirmed, the PGA of America has confirmed. I was not working on the story, so I tweeted it out when I heard it on the radio. I pull back the curtain here, guys. I am doing interviews. I'm in the interview area. They call it the flash area, just outside of scoring at Quail Hollow. I am watching on a monitor what's going on, but I'm also listening to our radio coverage so I can hear if there's anything we need, anything I need to chime in with there. So I knew that our team was working on reporting this story as soon as Taylor Zarzer, who was doing the play-by-play for our team, reported the news, and Johnson Wagner, who terrifically analyzed exactly what it means and why it's not as big of a deal as some people might think. He expounded upon it. I tweeted out just the news itself. I am getting eviscerated on Twitter as if like I called out Rory McIlroy for cheating and I didn't put any more content. I gave exactly what the news was. I was not working on the story. I was not privy to a lot of the other information. All of that said, they test for drivers on a regular basis. I believe it's random. I don't believe they're testing all 156 players' drivers on every single week. That said, it's not cheating. Like if a player's driver comes up like too hot and non-conforming, it's not because they did something and go, oh man, I'm gonna slip this one in. This one's hot. It happens over time. You can use a driver for 6 months, and after 6 months of use, for whatever reason, the metal wears a little differently. I don't know the science behind it, but for whatever reason, it can go from conforming to non-conforming. And I don't know the specifics of Rory's because Rory hasn't told us and Rory hasn't spoken for 2 days. So that's as much as I can clarify the situation. I'm happy to answer any questions we have in the chat about it. I know a lot of people had questions and accusations on Twitter, and yes, that's what Twitter is for. But look, there's no accusations. We reported the news. It was sourced, probably triple, quadruple sourced by multiple teams out there. So that's what I have, and that's what I can tell you.
Well, maybe Rick Gehman has something to say about this. Let's bring him on. He was sitting in the green room there, and now in the media room. Rick, listen, I really don't. I know you've probably been listening the last 60, 90 seconds or so. I do want to get to round two. I mean, there's really a lot to talk about, good and bad, with so many big time names missing the cut. But any commentary, any follow up on what Jason said with respect to the driver thing, Rory McIlroy?
Sure. Yeah. First off, hi fellas. And secondly, yeah, Jason's right here. Yeah. So what happens is the metal wears down on the club face after use. It happens to my golf club. It happens to everybody's golf club. It's just wear and tear. It is like breaking in a catcher's mitt, right? As you use it, it gets a little bit easier to use, gets a little bit more flexible. The metals do that as well, and it becomes, as it wears down, it has more flex, for lack of a better term, and it bounces more, and there's a limit. And it'll eventually, if you continue to use that club, you'll just break the club face because it'll get so weak. But there's kind of a sweet spot where it can still be in one piece, but it'll be too hot. So yeah, they randomly do this. I think they do them in batches. This is not remotely new. Collins had to take a club out of his bag at one point. Xander failed at one point. Like, this happens. This is part of the process on tour. And it's really, I don't think it's really anything more than that.
Yeah, fair enough. By the way, Joe Musso in the chat. He, of course, hosted on CBS Sports Network today, the PGA Championship show. He said, Rick is on the way. I had a lot of questions. My apologies, faithful. So, Rick, you're finally here. You know who's not going to be here, or at least where you are tomorrow? At least most of these people aren't going to be there. Can I read a list? I want to get to Max Homa. I want to get to the Morning Wave. I want to get to, of course, we're going to get to Bryson and Scotty, Matt Fitzpatrick, Jhonny Vegas, some big time names, and we're going to get like a betting perspective, look at the odds and see what we like there. But I'm just going to read a list of names, and hopefully this is accurate. I just kind of scribbled it down before we went live. These are, in my opinion, notable names, maybe big time names or names that were like maybe DFS options or betting options for people, or just otherwise big names. Jordan Spieth, Sepp Straka, Shane Lowry, Akshay Bhatia. Boy, his final 2 holes, that was tough to see. Keith Mitchell, JT, Ludvig, Decky, Reed, Minwoo Lee, Ricky Fowler, Sung J M, Zalatoris, Jason Day, Patrick Cantlay, Cam Smith, Andrew Novak, Justin Rose, Phil Mickelson, Carl Billups, DJ. DJ is not my DJ anymore. Then, of course, Michael Block. We'll finish it there. Kidding about that last name to some degree, but Rick, your response, I mean, that's a lot of listen, big time names miss cuts at major championships all the time. That seems like an overwhelming amount. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. And I think that a lot of it is the little bit of randomness that we have gotten with the mud balls and with the water that is out there, right? I mean, we've seen so many shots that have been close to the water. Some have gone in, some have held up. You could argue Brooks should probably be like 5 shots worse. You could argue Rory McIlroy should probably be like 5 shots worse. He's had a couple balls stay up as well. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of luck of the draw for that stuff. And then, you know, I think that the 3 that stand out to me the most, I mean, Hideki's major cut streak is over. That was the longest active major cut streak. Ludvig has been very disappointing since his victory earlier this year. And then, of course, I think the biggest disappointment is Justin Thomas, who should have played better this week, should have played well this week, and now his major championship woes continue.
Jason, is this the kind of thing where, and Rick, I might bounce this off you before we kind of look at some of these players specifically. When I look at the leaderboard, I see plenty of heavy hitters that have distance. I mean, Jhonny Vegas is certainly one of those guys, but you interviewed Siwoo Kim after his round. Short hitter. And I'm just going to I'm just looking down the list. JT Poston, short hitter. Let's see. Christian Bezadenhout, who's not even playing well, by the way, relatively short hitter. We got Denny in here. There's Aaron Rye. There's plenty of guys, JJ Spawn, plenty of Ben Griffin, plenty of guys that don't have distance. Have we maybe assessed this course a little bit too much in favor of the heavy hitters?
Either we've assessed it too much in favor of the heavy hitters. In fact, yes, we can certainly say that's the case, because coming in, we were like, okay, half the field, like, they're out because they don't hit it 300 yards in the air, but that's not the case this week. It also, what it tells us, and look, I've known this for a long time, and I'm guilty of buying into the idea coming into this week that you had to be one of those long hitters. That said, what we've learned over the years that if you're not long enough, you don't have to be Bryson DeChambeau. You don't have to be Rory McIlroy off the tee. You have to be long enough. And quite frankly, if you're not long enough, you're probably one of the 20 club professionals. You're probably not playing professional golf for a living, because all of these guys are long enough. I mean, you can look at Denny McCarthy is a great example. He's not the longest hitter off the tee. He's not a guy that goes out there and bombs it. Is he long enough to contend on a course like this? Look, he's contended at Torrey Pines. He's contended at Muirfield Village. He's contended at some big ballparks over the last few years. So the answer is unequivocally yes. And we see that from these players who I don't know whether it's just, fairway accuracy means more than we thought it would. Just driving distance doesn't mean as much. Some of these guys, we tend to look at long hitters just by driving distance. Well, sometimes a guy only hits it an average of 287 off the tee, but he's really good with a 5-iron in his hand. And so distance isn't always just distance off the tee. And I think we're learning that again this week.
Yeah, I think JJ Spawn's a good example of that. Really good long iron play, but off the tee, he's not gonna do you any favors. Rick, your commentary on just the course in terms of maybe when we assess the Wells Fargo, which I understand might be a slightly different setup, but next year, are we looking more towards some of these maybe shorter guys that are clearly contending this week?
Well, I've just found that I think short game has been a lot more important. There's been a lot of missed greens. The difference between the fairways and the greens has really put these guys in a little bit of a pickle. I think they're having trouble figuring that part out because I think it's very counterintuitive to the way that they normally play in the field beneath their feet, and the greens are a lot more firm. So you're getting a situation where there's a lot of green side shots and having to get up and down for par. And I think that those guys, if you are missing fairways, you have been able to get up and down. Matthew Pavone's been putting beautifully. He didn't make a bogey today, right? It was one of the few bogey-free rounds of the week. I think Luke Donald only has the other one. So that's probably the one thing that stands out to me as I kind of look back on the key stats for the week.
Yeah, something I talked about on the show this afternoon, actually, with Joe, was just the around the green play, which not only has come into play in a big way the first 2 rounds, but the next 2 rounds, it's going to be probably even more critical because we know the winds are going to be up, particularly tomorrow. I think there's going to be a lot of you're going to have to be good around the green to succeed over the next couple of days here. Okay, speaking of succeeding, Rick, Max Homa, 7 under 64. I ask you, and I think we talked about this maybe at the beginning of the week, whether Max Homa was back. Have we seen enough signs? I'm willing to say it. I think I said it earlier too, that I think Max Homa is back. Talk to me about his round.
I hope he's back. I think I'm going to need to see it in a major championship on the weekend. I think he's playing with Scotty, if I saw the tee time properly. Yeah, I mean, like the things that he has been working on will be under pressure the rest of the way. And I hope that they hold up. But I will say, so far, so good. I mean, he has driven it beautifully, not even, remove the fact that he drove the par 4 14th and nearly made an ace, and he picked up like 1.7 strokes off the tee there. He picked up basically another stroke and a half the rest of the hole. So he's driving it really well. I think the swing looks like more synced up than it has in recent months. So yeah, I think he's been awesome, but I'm also very excited to see how it holds up under the immense pressure here.
So, Jason, talk to me about whether you think it's going to hold up for Max Homa and whether or not the guy at the top of the leaderboard, Jhonny Vegas, who, again, you interviewed again today. And I think most people think Vegas is going to fall. I think Max Homa, there might be a better argument for him to sustain what he's doing, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. What do you think of those two?
Look, I think it's going to hold up for Homa, but hold up doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go win. He's playing with the best golfer in the world tomorrow, and anyone going up against Scotty is going to have a tough time. It's not like Max Homa was picking off major championships before he went into this little funk a year ago, and then he's going to come out of it and start winning majors again. He wasn't winning majors before. I think he's going to play pretty well on the weekend. I think he's got a lot of confidence right now. You can hear it in his voice. I mean, 2 months ago, if you spoke to Max Homa, it sounded like he was ready to quit golf, and now it sounds like he loves the game again, and he's loving his swing a little bit. He said today, I don't advise changing your coach, your swing, and your equipment all at the same time, but that's what I did. It was complete chaos. And when you get that context, I think you start to understand this is why. I mean, it wasn't like he just lost his game. It wasn't like he forgot how to play golf. It wasn't even a mental issue. He had a lot of different moving parts in his game, and he's figured them out. So I think he's going to accord himself well over the rest of the weekend. But is he going to win this golf tournament? I don't think so, but I don't expect to see a couple of 78s and Max Homa tumbling down the leaderboard the next 2 days. As for Jhonny Vegas, I'm going to make a Tiger Woods Jhonny Vegas comparison.
What could possibly go wrong?
For a guy who's never finished inside the top 20 in a major. No, the only comparison to make is I spoke with Jhonny after the round again, and he used the word process about 12 times in a 1.5-minute long interview. This is something that Tiger always used to talk about. We'd be like, man, Tiger, you're the best. Oh, what a great shot. He's like, well, I'm just working on the process. I'm just trying to, go through my feels, and I'm trying to get there. And Tiger was always very straight line, very flat lined about his own game. Jhonny Vegas is essentially preaching the same rhetoric right now about his game and his swing. I love where it is right now. Spoke with his swing coach, Rick Smith, who's like got a big smile on his face right now. We haven't seen Rick up there at a major championship with a player on the leaderboard in many years, maybe since Brendan Steele contended a PGA Championship about 7, 8, 9 years ago. And so Rick's doing a really good job with him. They both like where the swing is right now. But for Jonathan, it's more about the process right now. It's not thinking coulda, woulda, shoulda, okay, I'm in the lead. What can I go do? It's just, okay, shot by shot. And I like his mindset right now. I like his state of mind.
All right. I think what I heard there, Jason, was that Johnny Vegas as good, if not better, than
Yeah.
Tiger Woods. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's what you said.
Put everything on Twitter.
Speaking of a guy that gets quite amount of attention, maybe not Tiger Woods attention, but Bryson DeChambeau, another guy that went out in the morning, Rick, that had a pretty good round. I mean, I think could have been like, this is one of those guys. It could have been better. It could have been worse. He bogeys 18, which I'm sure he's not super happy about right now. Or I should say his final hole, he bogeyed. But either way, your thoughts on Bryson, and we're going to look at his odds to win this tournament. He's second in the odds, as most people might probably have predict. But your thoughts on his round today?
Yeah, so I was with this group basically the entirety of the back nine, and I thought that Bryson left a couple out there. I mean, he had certainly not a gimme. It was like a 19-foot birdie putt on 13, the par 3. He did not make that. That's fine. You're not going to make a ton of those. But then you add that into the fact that he couldn't get up and down from the greenside bunker on 14, hit a very bad bunker shot there. That's a hole that he's supposed to take advantage of. He was on the green in 2 on 15 and 3 jacked for par. And quite honestly, they were 3 bad putts. He almost 4 jacked it. Then he settled into the round. So I think that I was impressed with the way that he settled into the round. The birdie on 16 was really good, and it kind of spurred the rest of everything here. But this could have been way better, in my opinion. He did not birdie 7, the other par 5. He's played the Green Mile great this week. I think only Sam Stevens has gained more strokes in that 3-hole stretch than he has. I'm quite bullish around the way that Bryson is playing right now and the way that he sets up for the weekend.
Yeah, I certainly think he's in good position. We'll talk about, in a few minutes, we'll talk about like what the real lead is and conversations like that. And if you think, well, Scotty's got the real lead, and that's no disrespect to Fitz or Homa, but if Scotty has the real lead at 5 under, then obviously Bryson only 2 back of that. We are going to look at the odds in a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the guys who went out in the afternoon, including a couple of huge names that almost missed the cut among so many who actually did miss the cut. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We're back on the Early Wedge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We had a round recap today. We had it yesterday. We'll have one tomorrow. And Sunday, instead of the live show, we're actually going to have a Sunday recap of the PGA Championship. So make sure you stay locked into the SportsLine YouTube channel. Jason, I do want to talk to you about Matt Fitzpatrick just quickly, because to the extent we think Max Homa might be back, and we've seen some signs, some glimpses of it over the last month or so from Max Homa. I think you could say the same about Matt Fitzpatrick. We have seen some glimpses of it from him. 368 today. He's put himself very much in contention. Your thoughts on Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, we talk about process. I mean, Matt Fitzpatrick might be the most process-oriented player on the PGA Tour. He is as fastidious about his game, about keeping track of it, as anybody out there, probably more so than anybody. And spoke with him after the round, and he likes his position right now. He has a reputation for playing hard golf courses really well. And I asked him if this is enough of a challenge for him to consider it a hard golf course. He said, yeah, I really like this place. I'm going along well. I got the sense that maybe it wasn't like his favorite golf course in the world, just kind of reading between the lines a little bit, but he's playing some good golf right now. And look, he is one of the very few major champions who's up there on the leaderboard. And I don't discredit that at all. And we talked about where we think the lead is right now. If there's a major champion who's at 6 under right now, I will give him the quote unquote real lead. I think Fitz is a guy who's, like I said, hasn't had his best stuff, and Sia, you mentioned it, and it's, he's been searching for a while. I think one book, and maybe most books, he's 180 to 1 coming into this week. That's how much he'd fallen off the pace a little bit, but he's been there and done that, and he's certainly, when he's playing his best golf, he can play up there with the best players in the world.
Rick, let's transition to the big 3 group. We'll start with Scotty Scheffler, who at times in this round, I was like, like now he's really good. Like, because I have a Bryson outright ticket, right? So I want Bryson to be, this is just me talking about my stuff. Sorry, everybody. But I want Bryson to be within striking distance, because I think, this is my personal opinion, I think their floors are different, Bryson and Scotty's. Scotty's got a higher floor, but I think their ceilings are the same. So if I can be in striking distance and I can get a ceiling round out of Bryson, I'm in good shape. Well, fortunately, Scotty stumbled a couple of times. Your thoughts on his round, because it did look for a moment in the middle of the round that like Scotty was going to start piling up birdies.
Yeah, you might be in trouble, Sia. Yeah, I think that he didn't really play particularly well. He actually said himself, and I kind of agree. I don't really agree, but he said the second shot that he hit on 14, which was the bunker shot on that short par 4, he said that was the first good shot he hit all day. So the second shot on 14, I think he's exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think he's exaggerating a ton. Then he would, of course, pick off 15 with a birdie, and he missed a 3-foot 11-inch putt on 17 after hitting a dart in there. Yeah, this probably could have been better. He parred 7, he parred 10. Those are the 2 par 5s that you want to be getting. All of these negatives that I'm throwing out there, he's 1 shot out of second, and he's 3 shots off the lead. So Scotty's going to be a big time problem. He's probably going to play better on the weekend than he did in the first 2 days.
Jason, would you say the same about Bryson as you would with Scotty in terms of like they're both probably going to play better over the weekend?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly Scotty, this is what we've seen from him this year. And I know he only has that 1 win, but he's basically been doing it with smoke and mirrors a little bit, where he's got kind of not even his B game, his B- game, and he's not really happy with where it is. He wants to go out to the range afterwards and work on some things. And yet there he is playing better golf than 150 something other players in this field. And isn't it ironic, guys, that one day after everyone's grousing, complaining about, oh, this leaderboard's terrible. What's this, the John Deere Classic? This is awful. Look at these guys we've got up there. There's a definitive chance that on the back nine on Sunday afternoon, we've got Scotty, Bryson, Fitzpatrick, who's won a major, Max Homa, who's a big fan favorite. I don't know, maybe John Rahm and Victor Hovland and Tony Finau get up there. This could be a fantastic leaderboard come Sunday afternoon. Doesn't mean it's going to be. I mean, maybe it's Jonathan Vegas and Ryan Gerard battling it out for the win on Sunday. But I have a feeling the cream's going to rise to the top once we get there on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I will say the conditions are going to dictate some of this because, again, I think the winds and the wind gusts tomorrow are going to wreak havoc on some of these players. We're just going to have to see how that pans out. I do want to get to the betting markets, but I want to ask Rick about Rory and Xander. We know Xander extends his cut streak. It looked really dicey for him in the middle of his round, even late in his round, but he ends up making the cut. Rory was making a run, and then he wasn't. Like on yesterday's show, Rick, we talked about how Rory was 22-1 in some spots, 30-1 in other spots. And I basically said, Jason, you might remember, I said, Rory's cooked. Like, he's not going to catch up. He's not winning this tournament. There was a moment where I was really regretting saying that. But at this point, do you think Rory can actually win this tournament at 1 over par?
No, I don't. I thought that he could when he was 4 under through 10, and he still had a couple of birdie opportunities in front of him. I thought that was, he and Scotty were both kind of making a similar type of move, and Rory had gotten into under par for the championship. The big difference between what Rory has done this week and what he did at the Masters is, like, at the Masters through, I guess, over the course of the entire tournament, he played like 66 perfect holes and he played 6 horrible holes. He has played a lot more bad holes this week. He just hasn't been sharp, even coming up 18. Gets really lucky for his ball to stay out of the water. Hits a really subpar pitch from the side of the putting surface. He just hasn't had it, and he's had a couple of balls that probably should have gone in the water and have stayed out, and he's gotten lucky breaks on. This could very easily have been a weekend without Rory McIlroy, and I don't know if he is capable of flipping that, especially with a driver that probably feels quite different to him.
Fair enough. Jason, any commentary on Rory's round today or just his prospects for this tournament in general?
Yeah, I don't like him to come back. I mean, maybe if you want in the betting markets, a top 20 or something like that. But I just don't see it being a big turnaround weekend for Rory. I know we've seen a handful of backdoor, quote unquote, top 5s, top 10s for him over the years. And it could happen for him this week. But like Rick said, everything's just been a little bit off. Every part of the game is just not quite there. Not being able to speak with him because he hasn't spoken to the media in 2 days. I don't know exactly what's going through his mind, but I know he's probably frustrated if he's not talking to us. That means that there's some things going on, some things he doesn't like, because when he's happy, he's more than happy to put a microphone in front of his face, the camera in front of his face, and come talk to us. So the fact that he hasn't talked in 2 days tells me he's probably pretty frustrated with himself and his game.
Fair enough. Josh is informing me that Rory to top 10, that's plus 250. To top 20 is minus 110. We'll We're going to look at some betting stuff in a second. Before we get there, let me ask you both, who are you most disappointed in for not making the cut? Jason, I'm going to start with you. Some notables, obviously we talked about Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Decky, Ludvig, Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka. There's a handful of others as well. Who it doesn't even have to be like because of their pedigree. It could be because you just really liked them coming into this tournament.
Yeah, obviously it's Michael Block. I had big expectations for Blocky this week. Now, the obvious choice for me is Justin Thomas. Look, I think we all like Justin Thomas coming off a win and a runner-up in his last 2 starts, coming to a place where he won the PGA Championship back in 2017. It just felt like the intersection of all things that we're looking for with course history and recent form. And he's got his swing, and he's got his swagger back, and there's confidence there, and all of a sudden goes out there and just doesn't play well enough. I mean, there are like brief moments of brilliance, and as soon as it happened, like you take 2 steps backwards, and it just never got there for him. I spoke with his agent after the round. He's shaking his head. He's looking at the cut line. He's like, at that point, it looked like it might be 2 over. And he's like, gosh, he, didn't get up and down from a greenside bunker on 7. That could have been the difference. As it turns out, he was 2 shots below the cut line, so he needed even more than that. But no, it's just JT really disappointed me this week. I expected big things from him.
Rick, my answer is Patrick Cantlay, and that's just me because I had him at 45-1 as one of my handful of outrights. And I actually am disappointed. Regardless, like he was tracking really well, and he just wasn't good either day. You're not allowed to say JT. So who else are you disappointed in?
The disappointing thing with Cantlay is that he was just never even in it. Like
right.
I think he was 2 or 3 over in his first 4 holes. And just was never even in it. Some of these guys played well one day, didn't play well another. They just had a really bad stretch or something like that. Cantlay just was never in it, which is just very disappointing. I think maybe Ludvig. The heaps of expectations I know are probably unfair because this is major championship number 6 for him. But at the same time, that's the benefit of being great is like we heap these outrageous expectations on you. And it's weird to say, but outside of his win earlier this year, it just hasn't really been all that good.
Right.
And the stat profile speaks to a guy who's struggling with the putter, speaks to a guy who's struggling on approach. And I just, he's going to play a lot. He might play like 90 more major championships or something like that. But this one was just kind of weird. I thought he'd play a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought he had some flashes of brilliance there, but just was so erratic. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say I spoke with Ludvig on Wednesday, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and he had this big smile across his face, like I kind of like one of those. I got it. Like I kind of found something, and I know I haven't played that great over the last month and a half, but I found something. The swing feels really good right now, and I didn't have big expectations for him coming into the week. I sort of lifted those expectations a little bit higher once I spoke with him, but just never worked out for him. Just never happened. I like Rick said, he's going to play a million of these major championships. I think he's going to win a bunch of them. Whether a bunch is 3 or a bunch is 7, I don't know. But I think he's going to be a multiple major champion at some point in his career.
All right. Well, let's talk about who's going to be a major championship here in 2025. Josh, if you could, let's bring up the odds board. And predictably, I'm sure we're going to see Scotty Scheffler at the top. We'll probably see Bryson in second place here. So looking at this, gentlemen, and we can look down the board too. We got Scotty at plus 200. Interesting that Rory is plus 3,000, which was his number in some places yesterday. I think at BetMGM it was plus 2,200, so they've given longer odds. We go from Bryson to Matt Fitzpatrick at 1,100. Jhonny Vegas at plus 1,200. Siwoo Kim, an interesting he had an ace today, shorter hitter, very much succeeding here. Siwoo Kim plus 1,400. Max Homa 20-1. John Rahm, who we haven't even talked about, at 25-1. Bobby Mack 28, and then Rory. Jason, anything jumping out to you here?
Yeah, what's jumping out to me is I don't want to play any of these guys because I think Scotty Scheffler is going to win this golf tournament. It's essentially what we were saying on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which was, and at least I was saying this, and I think a lot of people backed me up on this, which was I think one of the top players is going to win, and they've all got pretty short odds, so I'm more interested in the finishing position markets than I am in outright markets, and I feel, if not the same way, even more so about it right now because I think it's probably Scotty. I don't want to bet him at 2-1. I don't want to bet anyone else because I don't want to fade Scotty, so let me look elsewhere in different markets to find somebody there.
We're going to get to, I'm going to throw out some numbers to you both in the without Rory and Scotty market, which is kind of really without the Scotty market, but Rory's still in this thing. Rick, when you look at this board, is this just a stay away? Like you're just not interested in taking anything here?
No, I would dabble. Yeah, I think Scotty or Bryson wins this golf tournament. Very brave of me, I know, but I think that believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of the without markets, but Bryson at 6-1 without Scotty is like, okay, sure. Like that feels pretty good. I think both these guys are going to find a way to get themselves into one of the last groups on Sunday, which means I think they're going to play well tomorrow, and to have a little bit of an insurance policy where Bryson, if he wins, great. If he finishes second to Scotty, I'm still walking to the window. I think that's the click I'd make tonight. I don't think I'd bet on any of these other guys, right? Do I think that Matt Fitzpatrick is going to fight off not only Scotty Scheffler but like 18 other guys? I doubt it. So I'm going with thoroughbreds here.
Jason, that without market is, without Roy Scotty market. Rick's right. It's plus 600 for Bryson, plus 850 for Matt Fitzpatrick. Same with Siwoo Kim. Then you get to Jhonny Vegas, Max Homa at 14-1, John Rahm at 18-1. Any of that interest you? Because I agree with Rick. The plus 600, if you're not already on Bryson to some degree, and I am on him in the without market as well, by the way. We talked about that, Jason, on Sunday. Mm-hmm. But would you consider the plus 600 if you didn't already have interest here?
I would consider that. I also like Max Homa. I mean, I think he can keep the story going. That feels like a good feel-good story, that if you lose to Scotty Scheffler at a major championship but beat everybody else in the field, like you walk away going, okay, I feel pretty good about myself, unless he kicks it away with a 4-putt on the last hole or something like that. I can see Max Homa. Also, I know it's been mentioned in the chats, and we just kind of briefly mentioned it. It's going to be windy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And maybe not quite as windy on Sunday, but look at the guys who play well in heavy winds. Matt Fitzpatrick, it's a low ball. I think that he can fare well if the winds are swirling up there. Robert McIntyre, I'm trying not to just pick off all the European players here, but the guys with a lower ball flight that can control their shots in the wind a little bit better, those are probably the guys I'm looking at a little bit more.
I'll say this, Rick, because I want to kick it to you about what Jason just said about the wind and whether people might be playing DFS. Do you agree you're looking for guys that are talented around the green, which, by the way, Bobby Mack, I don't know if you mentioned Fitz, certainly one of those guys. But I will say this about Homa, the Homa call. Obviously, he gained a ton of strokes today, but he did it across the board, like significantly across the board, putting around the green, approach, off the tee. There wasn't one that was kind of short and everything else was like he was killing it. Like he killed it pretty much in every single category. And if you think he found something on a course where he's already been very successful, Max Homa does, especially in that without market. He certainly makes sense. Rick, your thoughts on the win tomorrow?
Homa secures the heart portion of my betting card, right? Like I hope he wins. I want nothing more than for Max Homa to win this golf tournament. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think Jason's right here. I would throw Siwoo Kim into that category. He's a very low apex player, and he finds the middle of the club face and hits a heavy enough golf ball and is just crazy enough to go out and steal this thing, right? I mean, I think he's someone that would fit that mold.
All right. Rob Johnson says if Scotty figures out something with his tee shots, he could run away with it. Absolutely. Let's see. Joseph Boza is in here. Dion Sorry says Max Homa top 10 at plus 170. That's a pretty good number, actually. I like that. I might sprinkle on the Max Homa without Scotty and Rory market. I think that number's good enough. I guess it was plus 1,400. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it up. Rick, I'm going to go to you, and then Jason. Any final thoughts heading into Saturday and Sunday?
I think the leaderboard is going to change a lot. I think it has already changed a lot from Thursday into Friday. I trust our friends in Las Vegas, and their odds look a lot more like a stacked leaderboard than what the actual leaderboard looks like. And the golf course is getting more difficult. Jason mentioned the wind. The better players are going to be able to separate.
All right, Jason Sobel, final thoughts.
Of those better players, we haven't mentioned the name yet. Another guy that I like tomorrow. And again, 68 could be a really good score. You might pick up 4 shots on the field shooting a 68 tomorrow if the winds really do blow as much as they're predicting. Victor Hovland's a guy that I liked last night. Today, it was all over the place. 5 birdies, 3 bogeys, and a double. He shoots even par, but he's only 2 under, tied for 27th place. And I can see Victor Hovland, another low ball hitter, going out there and working this ball around this golf course. Again, shooting 67, 68. It's not going to take a 63 to go out there and climb this board. I think that just 3 or 4 under par could be good enough to move up 10, 15 spots on the board and put yourself at least in shouting range of getting into this, getting into title contention.
Yeah, short game got him a little bit on a couple of holes today, but overall looked pretty good. I actually thought, considering what he went through on a couple of holes, him shooting even par was actually kind of impressive. So 2 under, T27 for Victor Hovland. A lot of big names, a lot of turnover. We're going to talk about a lot of those big names tomorrow as this leaderboard sort of ripens, and we probably start to see some of the names at the top fall and some big-time names rise, some of which we discussed today. Speaking of big names, we got Rick Gehman here. We got Jason Sobel. And, of course, Josh on the 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s, always helping us out behind the scenes and sometimes in front of the camera. Thanks for being in here, everybody. Always make sure you're subscribed to this SportsLine YouTube channel because you catch the Early Wedge, but also the Early Edge and all our special shows across all of the sports. Enjoy the Preakness tomorrow. Enjoy all the sports. Enjoy the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, and, of course, all the PGA Championship. We'll see you next time on the Early Wedge.